This episode is sponsored by Evercore Facility Management. Evercore is a self-performing facility maintenance company based right here in the Wyoming Valley. They have been serving commercial and industrial clients in the Mid-Atlantic region for 25 years. Operating 24 hours a day, 365 days per year, Evercore gives customers peace of mind and allows them to work uninterrupted. Call 877-EVERCORE or visit evercore.com to learn more. That's EVERCOR.com. Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr., and I'm your host for the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Josh Katyl, owner of the Katyl Agency. What's up, podcast? Episode 16, another virtual On the Stacks podcast. What's going on, Josh?
Not much, brother. Just happy to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me. It's a long time coming. You've been on the Stacks before, but not on the podcast.
I'm just hoping that this actual episode of On the Stacks podcast is as explosive as the actual post last year.
Yeah, that was July 4th. So I mean, it's almost been a year. Can you believe it?
Do you have any firework effects that we can do?
I don't. I should have brought some.
Is Jess standing back there with some fireworks that I don't know about?
Yeah, Jess is actually in the corner. When I give her the signal, she's gonna blow off the streamers.
At least have that weirdo, Corby come and do some actual magic, some magic fireworks,
Yeah, you never know. I mean, he might just appear.
He could just pop out of nowhere.
You never know.
I don't think he's here.
Yeah, could be though.
Could be.
All right. Well, before we get into the Katyl Agency and what you do, give me a little bit about your background. You're from NEPA. You grew up here. You went away to school. You lived in some other cities around the country. So tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up here in northeastern Pennsylvania, like you said, Luzerne County. Multi-generations now of Katyls have been from Luzerne County. Both my grandfather and my father, as I'm sure we'll get to talk about, because that's kind of where the business side of things came from. Small business owners here in the area. Both of them had a couple kids, and most of those kids went off and did their own thing in terms of business and some different nonprofit world stuff. But no, I was that kid that loved growing up here, had a great upbringing with friends and family locally, sports, and I went to Dallas High School, had a good education from there. But at about 17, I got the itch and I needed to get out of here, to be honest. And I was, it's not some great story. It's just, how far can I get away and not pay, at that time, tens of thousands of dollars in school. Now it's hundreds, right? But I mean, at that time, it was like, how far could I go? And I landed on the University of Pittsburgh. I had been talking to some D2 schools about, playing soccer or baseball for them here closer to home, but I absolutely fell in love with the city of Pittsburgh. Penn State was an option.
I got my Penn State.
You wouldn't be you if you weren't.
Yeah.
But there's people that go to Penn State, and then there's smart people who go to Pitt. It's
come on.
No, but no, I went out to Pittsburgh. I fell in love with the city. It was like everything that I wanted in our small town feel. That I grew up with. I wasn't going to go, into Chicago or New York City and get eaten alive, right? But it had the city aspect, and it was sports rich. Let's be honest. I mean, the Penguins. I was a big hockey fan growing up, and then obviously the Pirates have an amazing stadium out there. But no, I went out there, got my degree, and then kept going west. Went out to Iowa for a couple of years. When I finally realized I wasn't going to play sports after high school and college, I decided to work in sports. So for about a decade after, I worked for the Pittsburgh Penguins when I was in college for a little while, and then the strike happened and I had to figure something else out, moved out to Iowa, helped start a hockey team out there. And then just so happened to, came back here, karma or whatever you want to say, destiny brought me back to NEPA. And when the Yankees came to town, now the Rail Riders, I was the sales and marketing manager for a couple of years when they swapped over from the Red Barons to the Yankees. So not unlike yourself, a lot of marketing in my background. I mean, I studied economics in school, but ever since then, even growing up in the family business, has always been marketing ideas. Like how can we be different? How can you be unique? All while still upholding that reputation that you of service and continuity and tradition and
Mhm.
you try to uphold. It's a tough mix. You don't want to go too far from what people expect from you, but at the same time, you don't want to get stale either. So that's what brought me back to NEPA. Worked,
Is that
like I said.
is that what it was? Or was it the Yankees and the farm team in Scranton? Is that what brought you back to the area?
Yeah. I just want to get back to the East Coast. Full disclosure, the Midwest was nice, but it wasn't where I wanted to be forever. It was just a different speed. Like some people say down south, different speed than up north. I just wanted to get back to the East Coast, a little bit closer to home. You wouldn't believe, I mean, friends weren't hopping on a plane every weekend to come out to Des Moines, Iowa. Let's put it that way. But no, I came back here. I wanted to, continue my foray into sports. And obviously, the Yankees being a big name, I'm a diehard, Red Sox fan growing up. Still am to this day. So working for the enemy was fun. However, the Red Sox did win the World Series when I was there. So I kind of patted myself on the back for being a spy, kind of.
Yeah, you were the inside man, right?
Was the inside guy, I was the Costanza version of the Red Sox, Um, but no, then I just, it just wasn't enough. There was something that finally clicked in me, and I said that this wasn't the ultimate path for me. I really got a liking to sales from working in sports. Doesn't matter what you are. You could be, you could be in maintenance or a janitor, and you're still selling tickets at the end of the day. It's just small market team stuff.
Yeah.
So did sales for a little while, and then while I was going through some couple sales careers, I met my now wife. We've been together. Actually, our anniversary was 2 nights ago. 8 years now.
Congrats.
And yeah, thanks. Now we have 2 boys, Jack and Grady, 4 and 6. And I'm continuing on the Katyl tradition of, boys, men have boys, and, we do have a couple girls in the family, but there's always been a lot of Katyl boys in the back mountain. So,
yeah.
We're not in the back mountain anymore. We live downtown, closer to work for both my wife and I, but, still keeping that tradition, man. I think that's my ringing endorsement. That's, what I'm most proud of is, tradition and, continuing on the legacy that, that was, came before us.
Yeah. So what was it about, working in some of those other cities, Pittsburgh and working out in Iowa? What was it, what did you learn from those experiences, and what were you able to bring back to NEPA?
I think the one word, I'm always a big one word guy. And for me, what comes to mind at those times, it's opportunity. For me, leaving this area, right? Like I could have stayed here, and props to anyone who stayed here and ended up finding their own path. But for me, I would have never appreciated what we had here if I didn't go out there. I took an opportunity while I was still in school to do an internship in Philly, and just learned how to fail pretty quickly. It was a bad situation. Admittedly, it was a marketing company, and just kind of a bait and switch type of situation. And, if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have been more conscious of my decisions. So that was an opportunity to learn. Pittsburgh was just, for me, it was the land of opportunity, because compared to, growing up in NEPA back in the 90s, it's not the NEPA we know now, which is a good thing. There's so much opportunity here now. But going out to Pittsburgh, and then, Des Moines, Iowa, the area that I lived in, it was cornfields, forever, until like 10 years before I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I think when I was there in the mid 2000s, it was the largest square footage like shopping area in the greater like North America. Like even beating out like Minnesota Mall of America, stuff like that. It was just this huge complex. It was like a sim city, like like a thing like they could just create from nothing, because there was no mountain on the side of Philadelphia to have 76 go across, like that type of stuff,
Yeah.
But no, opportunity. I think that's the best thing. And that's kind of where I, one of the cornerstones of what I'm always looking for, not just something to go bigger, better, faster, stronger, but just opportunity, and always looking for, another one, whether it's for myself or, my kids, my wife, my employees. It's just opportunity.
Yeah. What about, you mentioned a minute or two ago, your father and your grandfather, and you talked a little bit about business. What's that about?
So they, I was actually speaking to my dad about this a couple weekends ago. We just put a hold. We just did a big project, obviously COVID projects. I guess that's what they're going to be known as from now on. Turned half of our yard into like a big, sitting area, fire pit. So, but we just got to talking, and I said, what? Pop was his father, my grandfather. I said, what made Pop go into business? Because I knew that my great grandfather, who I didn't know, of course, but he wasn't an entrepreneur. I just said, I know why I did it. I know why my dad did it, because they were both, like that. They learned from their father before them. But I said, what made Pop go into business? And he said he just always had an inkling to find a way to help people. And our family's past wasn't really the collegiate level of things, more the technical school side of things. Excuse me. And Katyl Brothers now. Katyl TV and Appliance was born back in the 70s, and they turned it from one or two small stores into late 70s, early 80s into they actually built a huge superstore out in Tunkhannock. And I mean, long before its time, you're talking, your Kmart or Sears or something like that with all the major appliances, but also mixed with like a Blockbuster and different things like that. Like, I mean, they had video rental back in the 70s before it was, what was it, West Coast Video and things like that, like all the offshoots of it, but they were doing it back then, doing crazy numbers back in the day. And unfortunately, they hit a downturn in the economy and lost it all. They lost it all in the early 80s. So for me looking back, going through what I'm, going through now with COVID, it's like, the pandemic and whatnot. It's okay. So let's take this up, go back to that word opportunity. It's, learn from the lessons of my, grandfather before us, and, just make sure I'm not a little too overextended, which, is, could have easily happened with me. I just opened up a new office right before the pandemic started. So it's just trying to, learn from them before us. But, very proud of the fact that, I'm a third generation small business owner from Luzerne County. My first office with Allstate, I bought a business up back in 2013, but that was up in Dixon City. Mm-hmm. So until this past December, I hadn't eclipsed that ultimate goal of mine, which I couldn't say I was a third generation small business owner in Luzerne County. And that's what I always strive for. So this past December was it was a bittersweet month, because my grandfather, who was Joe Katyl, who was the person who started this entrepreneurial train of, Katyls, he had been battling Parkinson's for the last 10 years. And my business opened December 1st. He actually passed away on New Year's Eve. Oh, so all in the same month. It's just like, and I mean, it was a long time coming because he was sick, but it's just like, it was almost like, I don't know what the word is you would use for it, but it was like, it was like he held on, just, I was able to talk to him for a couple minutes and say, look, I did it, that we're here. And it was, brought a smile to his face. And, those types of things you remember, because, you learn a lot from your parents and grandparents and influences growing up, to pay homage to that. It's important,
Yeah. So one of the other things you mentioned is the word, before we started, you mentioned the word reputation.
Absolutely. Learned reputation more so. We'll switch gears to my father. In the early 80s, when the Katyl TV and Appliance, they had to file for bankruptcy. It was my father and my three uncles, along with my grandfather. My grandfather went off and did something else. Used his expertise. Him and his brother, my great uncle, were both in the engineering type of background. Like they had, just brains. Like my great uncle is like he worked for IBM, patents and all that stuff. But my father was probably in his mid 30s. Uncles probably all about the same, and they had to reinvent themselves. So my dad at that time started Catal Satellite, and then two of my uncles started Katyl TV and Appliance, and then another uncle worked with computers. So, like there's the thing. A lot of people ask me like, why didn't you go into that? And I said I tried, but my dad wouldn't let me. But I used to grow up. My dad used to have this big red truck, and everybody knew it as Katyl TV, or as my wife, who I didn't know her at the time. Her and her cousins used to call him Mr. Cable, because he was always the guy that would come over and fix the TV. So Mr. Cable was coming over, but which I think we missed out on a huge marketing opportunity there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
but uh, but no, the reputation aspect, honestly, Bill, um, my father is probably one of the most amazing people, like people person you'll ever meet. Um, I mean, just like he didn't. It's funny that I'm so big on marketing and advertising because he did not. Like it was him. It was just like his whole thing. It wasn't even word of mouth. It was just reputation. Like it wasn't even something where he had to ask for a referral or like he had to say, hey, could you tell your friends about me? It was just, he just did the right thing. People needed his help, back in the, 80s, when I got a little bit older, 90s, that's when the huge like ceramic dishes were, being put up and the big mesh dishes and stuff. I still have scars on my arm because they'd have the wire cut too long and I'd jag myself up. But no, I mean, we'd be in and out of people's houses every day, sometimes, half a dozen, 10 times a day. And it was just the same thing. I mean, people, I mean, don't get me wrong, in a people, oriented business, like, and I know now, you're not always going to make everybody 100% happy all the time, but what I learned from him growing up is it doesn't matter whether they're happy or unhappy, you treat them with the same respect. You just, you do your utmost for them and, you just continue to do the right thing. My grandfather said, you never have to worry about if you're doing the wrong thing, is if you're always doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You know,
That's very true.
so the reputation aspect, it's almost like in my blood. Don't get me wrong, in this day and age, it's, with social media and stuff and everything is out there. It's, it's more challenging than ever to keep a good reputation. But at the same time, if you're, I just always have him in the back of my head saying, if you just do the right thing, then you never have to worry.
Yeah.
So,
That's exactly true.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yep. So but now you're in the insurance business.
so not technology. I mean, they're trying to make it technology with all these devices and apps and
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, not technology at all.
Mhm.
I started to say earlier, God, I think I was just coming out of school and I had this bright idea. I don't remember when it was, but I had this bright idea that I would help my dad, come back full time, help him, work. And I did for a little bit. I was in between some stuff and I had said, I think I'm just going to take over the business. Help you at some point. And then when you want to retire, I'll take over the business. And he wasn't really a very he didn't, he wasn't that guy that said a lot. I don't know where I get it from, but um, he just looked at me and he said, no, that's not going to happen. And a lot of people, like when I tell them that, they're like, oh, wow, he didn't want to give you his business. And I said, no, it's not that. I remember he looked at me when I was in school a while before that. And he said, look, I'm sending you to school so you can go and do your own thing. He goes, I have this thing here, but I want you to go and do your own thing. Like my dad didn't go to college, grandfather didn't go to college. Like they were all just like self-made, technical. They use their, knowledge of technology and whatnot to do their own thing. But he said, I have visions for you that are a lot bigger than just this business. And, fast forward to probably about 10, 15 years ago now, he had said, this business is going to be so different, when you have kids and you need to be supporting a family. And he was right. I mean, he would do probably 40 to 50 small dish DirecTV or Dish Network satellites a month before he might do 3 or 4 now. Like, it's just not his business. Like, it's a totally different world we live in. And thankfully for his foresight, he saw that. And, it's, yeah. But insurance, I remember sitting with my father-in-law, who's a dentist up in the back mountain, and he, he's always been a dentist. His father was a dentist, and does very well for himself. One of the best business minds that I know. I'm very fortunate to have him in my corner too. But after me, probably going on 4 or 5 different things in a 2 or 3 year span, and just about to marry his daughter, or I think we were just about to have our first son, he looked at me and he's like, "Why insurance?" And I just looked and I didn't have a great answer. I said, "Why not?" Because I mean, I didn't have an answer for him, but I mean, unless he had an answer for me, like to why not, then we kind of understood each other. And I just said, I expanded upon it. And I just said, look, this is an opportunity for me to get into a business that's not going anywhere. It's an opportunity for me to use my somewhat financial background and sales background, but also more than anything is it's something that people need. And in my mind, it was underserved in terms of, education. And I don't know if you can see my logo here.
Yep.
I was never going to be a weatherman, I guess. But
You try.
you know, with the logo there, it says, you know, in the words are placed very distinctively, very on purpose. The middle word is insure, last word is advise, but before any of those, it's educate. You know, because I mean, you know, they're trying to do it now. They're trying to get robots and computers to sell people insurance policies. However, you know, they're never going to be able to educate you on, you know, the process. They're never going to get to know the difference between Bill and Jess Corcoran and Denny Corby versus, you know, Bob and Jeannie Clements. You know, like they're all different. Everybody has their own unique, you know, aspects to their life. And I don't care if you have, you know, 10 or 20 people that are cookie cutter, the same exact person, the same exact situation, finances, job, whatever. At the end of the day, they're all different people.
Yeah.
You know, and they all have different wants and needs and plans for their life and plans for their kids, might not have kids, might never have kids, you know. So it's a unique situation where I can take the, you know, the life experience that I've had, and, you know, train some other people, young, old, experienced, not experienced, to, you know, just show that care and concern for the community, which, you know, that's another big word that, you know, really is impactful on my life, is, you know, just impact this community in the best way I can. So, you know, why insurance? I still don't have a good answer for why insurance. It's just, why not? You know, is there a better opportunity for me to do something? Maybe. But at that time, I had a great opportunity to purchase a, you know, business from a gentleman who's looking to retire and stick around and help me learn the business. And, you know, if it weren't for him, just like if it weren't for a lot of people, I don't know where I'd be right now. But
yeah. So that was how many years ago?
Oh, gosh, it's going to be, it'll be 8, it'll be 7, it's 7 years this year.
And now, and
20,
you just
20, yeah,
okay.
it's just about, in a couple months, it's 7 years.
Okay. And then
2013, I bought the business off him, and then this past December opened up our new office in lovely 44, Pennsylvania, where I'm sitting right now.
That was my next point, is that you just recently opened a second location, and you know, this whole pandemic thing happened, you know, shortly after you opened that second location. Like, what was that like? Have you been impacted negatively? What's going on?
I think it would be silly to say that, you know, I'm not going to be that guy that's, you know, all positive all the time. You know, there was definitely some sit back and, you know, it's a family show, so I won't say what I probably said in my head a couple times, but, you know, you had to sit back and go, WTF, what am I going to do now? Like, you know, like we admittedly, after we went from a certain model, a local model, with our first office for the first 6 years. First 2 years, we're really trying to learn the business, you know, learn a lot about our customers. Cause I mean, we bought a pretty sizable amount of customers from this gentleman that, you know, it took a good 2 years to get them to be familiar with not only me, but also my staff and whatnot. It was a change for them, right? Agent of change, you know, like that's where that comes from. But we focused on the community level and the local level so much with the first, and we were very successful with that. Rose to the ranks, and we're one of the, you know, coming into this year, we were one of the most successful agents for Allstate in Pennsylvania. And when we opened the new office, I kind of just threw that out the window and said, hey, we're huge now. We're going to go do all this stuff all over the state. We're just going to replicate this times however many counties there are in Pennsylvania. And it didn't work. So did COVID hurt? Yeah, it hurt a little bit. You know, the pandemic hurt because I had to sit back for a week or two and, you know, kind of fundamentally change the way I looked at it. But also say, you know, at first the question was, is it appropriate? Is it ethical to be prospecting people right now? But also, you know, after sitting back and looking at it, is how do we ethically do it? And it just came back to, and I said, a light bulb moment. And I said, stop going into other areas where they don't know us. So there's more than enough people here. We talk about this area being opportunity. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's better now? I mean, for me, I had to look at the positives. I now have an office on a busy street in Luzerne County in 44, Pennsylvania, right on Wyoming Ave. And I have another office in Lackawanna County, which is the two, you know, if you want to call it the twin cities of NEPA, you know, collectively together, you know, we actually have a pretty big population here, you know, when you think about the two counties together comparatively to, you know, middle of the state and whatnot. So kind of just had to look at it for the pro and say, all right, how do we do this better? Had a couple, you know, staff who had just come on that had to take a step back and take care of their families, and rightly so, right? I think it was a time for all of us to collectively take a step back and say, all right, what's important right now? how do I take care of what's important? And then how do I, if I have to shift focus or ramp back up once this is back to normal, whatever normal is, it's,
Yeah. 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 The new
you know,
normal, I guess.
I'm sure you have stories for days about, with all the different industries you touch. I mean,
Hmm.
with what you guys do, it's, like for me, I don't, we focus a lot on the personal lines aspect. We do some commercial insurance, but I mean, I would say 95% of our book of business is personal lines.
Okay.
But I mean, I know from the different, colleagues that I have that work in the, heavy in the commercial end. I mean, everybody you talk to, it affected it in a different way. Some
Oh yeah.
people were able to take advantage, but not take advantage, but you know what I mean,
Yeah.
capitalize on
Sure.
the situation and come out better for it. And that was kind of the goal. I told the staff that was able to stay on. We were all working from home and we're doing Zoom calls just like this, and said, guys, I don't want to just come out of this even. Like I want to spend not, and I'm not saying just from a production level, but I want to make sure we learn something from this. Reconnect with our customers, because it might have taken a step back from that for a couple of months with trying to really ramp up the new office. So
Yeah.
um, really try to take a look at all the positives from it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Uh,
Definitely a learning
oh,
opportunity.
like anything, right?
Yeah.
If you don't fail or accept the fact that you do fail, then you're never going to learn something new.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a total opportunity. You know. Um, One other thing I want to ask you about is the hashtag be the catalyst.
Yeah.
What's
So
that about?
So, as you can see behind me, this is kind of a movement, agents of change, with some insurance agents. It's actually with a marketing company that I work with down in Florida. They work exclusively with insurance agents, and it's kind of the whole thing. It's a play on words with agent of change. So, anytime somebody does something new, they really should talk to their insurance agent about, am I covered? Am I covered, appropriately? I'm getting married, I'm having a kid, buying a new house, I'm buying this, or I'm buying that. It's am I covered, appropriately? And now in these days with liability, that's important. So the word change, obviously, being a change agent, it kind of hit me one day. I was at a conference with some other, like a mastermind out in Denver with some other agents, and it's so funny because I've had the Instagram handle, the Catalyst, KatylYst, play on my Katyl last name
Yep.
for, I don't know, when did Instagram come out?
Yeah, like
I don't even
2011
I don't
maybe.
even know I don't even know what it was. And
Yeah.
for me, I was like Zuckerberg in the movie. We can't monetize it. I don't even know what it is yet. And honestly, it was an innocent, just like a silly little play on words.
Yep.
And I was at this mastermind. There's a coach out there that does like branding and self brand and stuff. And she took us through this like exercise, and it's like, name some words that are synonymous with who you want your brand to be, and that whole
Yeah.
existential type of conversation. And it just hit me, and it was like, oh my gosh, I stumbled upon it. I'm like, wait a second, this is a moment where it's like we can make this into something. So
Yeah.
that's the story behind where it came from. But the story of where I want to take it, and I was actually just chatting with Holly about this recently, and for me, it's more of a movement to, it was going to be the Catalyst initiative or the Catalyst, movement or whatever. But really, be the Catalyst is about just anybody. It could be my 6-year-old that's sitting on the camera right here. For him to be the absolute best possible person in his class to influence somebody's life in a good way, right? And it doesn't need to be change the world, but I mean, there is that quote from Gandhi: "Be the change you want to see in the world." That's on one of our posters in the Dunmore office. But it's like it's not, hey, I hope one of my kids runs for president one day. It's just, I hope that they can impact one person I think it's about impacting somebody who they can run for president, or that they can make a change, or they can do that. It's just, for me, I think I'm at my utmost happiness, whether it's with my staff, my spouse, my kids, my friends, if I can be impactful in their life to help them become the best possible version of themselves, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Be the catalyst for whatever good comes in their life, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So, because at that point, then I don't need to try to make myself better or try to prop myself up better and say, hey, Bill, did you see what I did last week? I wore this piece of pizza in my pocket as a pizza square.
Yeah, you did that one time.
We did that once. That was a great idea. But
Yeah.
But I couldn't find the picture too. I was going to put it up, you know. But it's you go back to marketing school and things like that, right? And you talk about promotions and whatnot. And I think the hardest thing to get through now with social media is self promotion versus other promotion.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I could say till I'm blue in the face, I'm the best insurance agent in the world, or I'm the this, I'm the that, I have this best. I mean, nobody, like, it's just, it goes in one ear out the other. Like, people don't even, they just scroll right through it.
Yeah.
However, if somebody else says, it doesn't need to be best insurance agent, but it's just, hey, look at what so and so's doing in the community. Look at what those guys from the shirt company did. Like, they didn't, they weren't saying, hey, we make great shirts, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, hey, we want to do this because we want to help out businesses that are struggling. So that is, for me, the best type of promotion you can ever do. And you never have to say, hey, look at us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So there.
Yeah. So, kind of along the same lines, but what's your favorite thing about NEPA?
So my favorite thing about NEPA, I love the name NEPA.
Yeah. By the way, I gotta call you out on that because, like, you say NEPA.
I do say NEPA.
I hate that.
Yeah,
I say NEPA.
For me, it just rolls off the tongue, and people, for me, it was like, okay, let me put it this way: it was like being from Dallas. Okay, so you grew up, around the area, right?
Yep.
Like, I couldn't stand when I'd go to, like, I'd be at school in Pittsburgh and they'd be like, where are you from? I'm from Scranton. I'd be like, dude, you grew up in Shavertown. Like, you grew up in Truxville. You grew up in Kingston. No, say where you're from. And I mean, I just love the fact that you said Dallas. They're like, Texas? No, haha, Dallas, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
No, but for me, like, sometimes corniness, I think, is a great thing. But obviously, that's not what I like about NEPA the most. I just love the eclectic nature. I think the fact that we're small enough that you can make a difference, but large enough to make it on a large scale. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, big fish, small pond, you could call it that. Some people look at that as a negative. But for me, when I went to school, when I went to Pitt from a small school, like in the area, like Dallas, I struggled mightily with not standing out like you would have in a smaller crowd here. But, then you come back here after being gone for 10 years and this place is just totally different than it was. We'll call it with technology, companies like Pepper Jam and now, Cole Creative and, some other, young, business, influential business people like yourself and some others in the area. I mean, we now have a platform, with social media and on the stacks and things like that we can, and you and I have talked about this offline, like, we can take this national. We want to take this, not just, this isn't just a local movement, right? This isn't just, I hope I can influence somebody in Luzerne County. I'm hoping that some, 24-year-old kid works for me and then goes and does something huge. And he just says, oh, I remember I got to start at, the Katyl Agency with Josh, that for me, my goal is to play golf, 4 or 5 times a week at some point before I, have to, be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life or something. And I want to be able to say, like, I impacted somebody's life, not just I made a certain amount of money and that's how I can play golf.
Yeah.
And it's not just about my kids, because I don't make the world a better place by making my kids better. I make the world a better place by making the world a better place. And then it's a better place for them to grow up in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
All right.
So yeah.
Well,
there's community. I'll leave you. There's my last word, community.
Yes. Community. Yeah. And maybe we'll come back to that, but, I have this,
Go ahead.
This next question is sponsored by Evercore. You probably recently saw the Big League Chew flavor voting we did on Facebook and Instagram, but I got to ask you, what is your favorite flavor of Big League Chew? And I got the Evercore hard hat on, just in case something falls from the ceiling.
Being a former, I probably played baseball for half my life to this point. Even after college, would still love it and play. But so I have extensive knowledge on the subject.
On Big League Chew.
On Big League Chew.
Oh boy.
But I don't know if you're going to be happy because I feel like it's the vanilla answer. I feel like it's the vanilla answer.
I can already tell.
You know where I'm going with it.
Yeah, it's not grape. I know. I can already tell.
It's grape forever.
Oh, it is.
Grape.
Well, no, I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
I thought
Great.
I thought you were going to go against grape.
No, what, strawberry or whatever it was? No.
I don't know. You got me nervous though.
No, it was, for me, it was always grape.
Ooh.
Forever.
Oh, all right.
Forever. Who said cotton candy? That's what I want to know. That's
yeah. Not many people voted for cotton candy in round 3. No, but
no. For me, it's grape forever.
What's that?
Said for me, it's grape forever.
Yeah, definitely. But there are a few other flavors coming up. There's still a few more rounds. There's strawberry, blue raspberry, and sour apple. So, a couple strong flavors.
I feel like that's the variety bag of Jolly Ranchers, but grape always reigns supreme.
Yeah, I agree. Some people are so mad that grape keeps winning, but
hey, well, to show them this,
haters gonna hate.
I've spoken.
You know. Well, I'm glad you're a grape fan. You got me a little nervous there.
I wasn't sure which one you want. You know, well, now the people know this wasn't staged.
It wasn't staged, and yeah, I was sweating that one out for sure. Yeah.
Hey, man, I gotta congratulate you. You're doing great things. You know, I know this isn't, you know, this isn't the part of the podcast where we turn it back to you and ask questions, but you're doing a good job.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's totally cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, we can take this hat off now. Yeah, there you go. Take yours off. Okay, back to regular scheduled programming here.
My hair looks good for just having a hat on too. So.
Yeah, look at that. Mine's a little messed up. I need that. I need some of that hair gel you got in.
You got that? This is just me. This is all me.
Yeah, I need to borrow yours. So how can someone learn more about the Katyl Agency website, the katylagency.com, your social media? What else?
So honestly, I've always been about, it kind of goes back to what I was talking before, you know, the self-promotion aspect. I would say this is about the most I do with it. You know, obviously we have the katylagency.com, and with, you know, agency marketing machine with Agents of Change, you know, we put out a magazine every month. But it's really, I try not to focus on insurance because, you know, that's exactly why somebody says, hey, Josh, why insurance? You know, because it's not, let's, you know, we'll keep it PG. It's not sexy. Like nobody's going, you know, aside from a couple people I know, I won't name their names, embarrass them. But there's not that many people that think about insurance and go, gosh, I love this. But that's exactly why, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's the only thing in the world that you buy and you hope to never use. Right.
So,
but, you know, however, from a promotional standpoint, it's things like this. It's like chatting with you, you know, going, you know, with power and things like that. For me, I just, you know, I always want to be that guy that, you know, somebody sees and, you know, oh, there's that guy. He's always smiling. You know, like, what is he so damn happy about? And I mean, for me, it's not insurance. It's not that at all. Don't get me wrong. It's my avenue. It's my medium to help people out with something that they're underserved, you know, with education and help with. But it's just, you know, I'm happy to have the opportunity to be here at a time when I think it's most needed, right? You know, positivity and, you know, just a rosy disposition, if you want to call it that. You know, when everybody else is looking at the negative, it's, you know, what's out there that we can look at positive. So in terms of where you can find, you know, me at, it's at a power mixer. You know, it's at, you know, enjoying, you know, some dinner with my wife at either the, you know, a local restaurant or, you know, on the golf course. You know, but just know if you ever need anything, I don't care if it's insurance related or just some advice. I like to consider myself a pretty decent idea guy.
You are? You're an open book?
I'm an open book, you know, like even if somebody wants to just shoot the bull one day, I don't care if you know me or not. Like I'll put my cell phone out there for anybody to call anytime, you know, because I honestly get more out of talking to people than, you know, when somebody's asking me for advice, I get more out of giving them advice than they probably get from me, because for me, it's just like, it stokes the fire that's going on up here. I can't turn it off anyway, you know, so, but no, you know, it's that, you know, helping out a local nonprofit, you know, doing some stuff with the chamber, whether it's Scranton or Wilkes-Barre, you know, it's there. That's where you can find me. I'm not hard. Let's put it this way. I'm not hard to find.
No, you're not.
You know, I'm the only Josh Katyl in the world. So.
Yeah, I don't know any other Josh Katyl.
No, you sure don't.
No.
People always say, "Are you related to?" I absolutely am. I just cut them off. Yep. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's about it. I mean, I mean, you and I could probably do this for another 4 hours. I don't think our wives would love us, but
yeah. Well, I'm glad we settled the big league chew debate.
Good.
So,
good.
That was easy.
Good, buddy.
Oh, grape the goat. All right,
we'll have to find the pizza square picture for the outro.
Yeah. So for those listening that don't know, one time Josh put a piece of square pizza in his suit coat pocket. It was wrapped in
a napkin.
It was wrapped in a napkin, and it was like a pizza square, like a pocket square, but a pizza square. If that makes any sense.
I'm the idea guy.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't make any sense to them.
No, it's not going to make any sense.
That's about as inside a joke as you could have on a podcast.
Pretty much. Yeah. There's only about 2 other people in the world that are going to understand it, but I think people are just going to laugh at us for how stupid it sounds. But hey, whatever.
That's why we need the picture. We'll put the picture. If you need the picture, I'll find it.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants it, it's gonna catch on. Somebody's gonna put it on, an actual pocket square.
Yeah,
it'll be a pizza square, pocket square.
Yeah. Yeah. Just in case you get hungry,
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, man. Well,
awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me for another virtual On the Stacks podcast. Josh Katyl, thekatylAgency.com, and hashtag Be the Catalyst.
Fireworks.
That's it.
Fireworks.
Ba-boom.
Visual effects.
Thanks, Josh.
Hey, thanks, Bill.
If you'd like to learn more about the On the Stacks podcast, be sure to search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on the Stacks.